So we are on the way to Memphis after the first day of competition for One Lap 2021. We are kind of playing with different strategies for transit here. Trying to decide what's better, to go a little faster and stop more, or to go quite slow and draft semis.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like there's more stops available this year than there was 2 years ago. More supercharger stations, so we have some options. Whereas before there were some transits where we didn't really have the option for the stretch, but it's interesting. So yeah, so first day was wet skid pad and autocross, and the underlying narrative of our competition thus far this year, or our planning and competition, has been agonizing over tire choice, because we were originally going to run the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, which are fantastic tires. We ran them in 2019. Run them on the streets. There really isn't much that beats it for a summer tire. They're head and shoulders above everything else for a summer street occasional track tire, and they are really good in the wet. We thought we wanted to get a little bit of a faster car in the dry and wet, and the new Yokohama was an intriguing option. I guess it's not that new. I guess it's been around for a couple years, but what they did was they started, I think, with it at 5. It was a tire that started at 5:30 seconds. Well, the rules for one lap are you have to have a tire that starts at 7:30 seconds, and it has to be above 200 treadwear or higher. So the race tires, the competition tires, are not allowed. It has to be a street tire. Can't be a autocross or streetable competition tire. But the Yokohama is kind of pushes that limit. It's better than, Andy and I have both been doing this for 16 or 17 years now.
A while.
Yeah. And the street tires that we're on now, which we'll get there in a minute, and the tire that we want to run, the Yokohama, are so much better than the race rubber that we used to run. It's just amazing how tires have the tire technology has improved over the years. So they were kind of the intriguing choice, because Yokohama changed it to a 7:30 seconds starting tread depth tire, and so we ordered a set or two, and we mounted them on the car for a test day, which was just about 2 weeks before the start of One Lap. Took them out to the local, I guess you can call it a track, but it's more like a driver's training course, Dakota County Technical College. And they were great. They were really fast and sticky and stable and progressive and communicative, and I don't know, we loved them. But
all the good things.
Yeah, and they have great reviews for wet traction, great reviews for dry traction. They just sounded like a great choice. So, and then we took them off the car, and we noticed some pretty alarming wear. Because they're sticky, they wear fast. And the Tesla Model 3 is a 4,000-pound car, so if you add up the number of track miles, which isn't that much for one lap, and then you add on the transits, I was especially concerned that we weren't going to make it, that we were going to be running the last 2 events on the steel belts. Or if it rained for the last 2 events, even if we hadn't recorded them yet, we would be bald, and we would be really struggling with the car. Well, it turns out that's what happened to us this morning, because I panicked and called Tire Rack and said, all right, I want some PS4Ss. We're not going to run the Yokos. And they were out. And that's been kind of the case around the country and for the past year, for obvious reasons. Like, there's a 2-month wait on average for those tires in a lot of sizes. So we were kind of faced with one of two decisions I guess three options.
Yep.
Run the Yokos and risk it. Run the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, our test set for 2019, and I don't think either Andy or I know. Andy's opinion was that you thought it was going to be questionable because maybe they had dried up a little bit, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
So I was kind of more thinking, well, it's a street tire, it doesn't really suffer that kind of storage degradation that you might see on a race tire or Yokohama AO52. So we probably should have asked somebody that knew more than us about that, but we were busy and everything else. So Tire Rack would be a real good resource. We probably should have called them. I'm sure they could have answered that question. So call Tire Rack if you have questions about
Moral of the story.
Yes.
Talk to the people who know tires.
So the third option we found was, we can get a Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 in a 240 treadwear. And that's a super fast tire. That's what they put on Porsche GT cars from the factory and all kinds of,
Lamborghinis.
Lamborghinis. Yeah, who knows, yeah. So they make a 240 treadwear, and actually the tire that we were looking at, in the size that we wanted to run, is the rear tire off a BMW from the factory, a BMW M2 competition. So it's a BMW Star Spec tire, which means it was really cheap. But I guess whatever. We don't want to go into that too much. So to continue with the geeky tire tech conversation, we agonized over it, and we decided to get those. And between how sketchy they are in the wet when there's pooled water and how cold it was this morning, when we got up it was 36, right? 36.
Yeah.
And so when we went on the track when Andy went on the track, Andy did the wet skid pad this morning. When he hit the track, it was probably 45 degrees or something like that. So the tires, and we had to have the tires ready for us at Tire Rack. It's a longer story than that, but let's just say that in South Bend, so we didn't get the chance to drive on them from home to South Bend to kind of scrub them and wear them in and just heat cycle them a little bit. So they were new, and we didn't put nearly enough miles on them. So they were new, it was cold, and they are not good in standing water or puddles or any appreciably very wet conditions. So they were terrible. And I guess he can tell you because he drove. But,
They were worse than driving on ice.
yeah, they were terrible. It's not what they were made for, and we did not treat them or prep them properly.
We didn't give him a chance.
Yeah. So these are all rookie mistakes, and even though we're just barely not rookies, we made them all. So anyway, so that was a struggle, and we ended up how many started? 74 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
We got out of the 70s, but just barely. So 5th from the bottom.
Something like that.
Yeah, just terrible. So, and I could tell Andy was struggling. I was watching him, but it was brutal. The times were slow overall, but I mean we were.
Yeah, because it was so cold, like you said.
Yeah.
So everybody was.
We were 0.2 G's slower this year than last, and I drove than last year, not fast.
Well, yeah, but in general, everybody was slower.
Everybody was slower. Yeah. So that was
decided.
awesome.
We decided.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can blame. Yeah, we decided. We decided on the tires. So the other reason we decided, we went back to the Michelins, and the Michelins I think work really well for this event in particular. And when I say the Michelins, I mean their suite of maximum performance or extreme performance summer tires. But is they have especially on a heavy car like the Tesla Model 3, is they have multiple tread compounds across the face of across the tread of the tire. The inner tread the inner compound is harder, if you will, than the outer compound. And so when you're in transit and you have any negative camber dialed into the car, you're on the harder compound, so you're not wearing the tire as quickly. But you still have, not lifted off the pavement, but less load on the outer tread blocks, which are a softer compound. So it's really a good setup for this week, for one lap in general. But we are on a tire that is sketchy in the wet so far. If it's a damp track, it might be okay. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
So that is all the nerdy tire tech we have for you. Basically, we made a choice and we're living with it.
But the opposite story was true in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Because it was sunny.
Yep.
It was about 30 degrees warmer.
Right.
And we had a chance to actually scrub them in on the first run of the Autocross. Autocross is 3 runs. Take your best time. So even though the first one isn't great, or the last one isn't great, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Different than the other days, because of course everything counts. Yeah, we're just checking the supercharging. So I think it's right up here, actually. Yeah, it's right here. 1 second.
We are trying the fast route, but this thing didn't redo itself for
there you go.
The nearest supercharger. So
yeah,
we're
4
going to have to
minutes.
self-navigate here.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Autocross.
Man, I'm glad that we caught that, or we would have been.
Well, I was watching. So yeah, the tires actually started to work about halfway through the first run.
Like a light switch, or was it like?
So the other thing that was happening in the afternoon, even though it's warm and whatever, there was about a 30, 40 mile an hour wind. So the first half of the track was with the wind, and the back half was against it. And since we have a little arrow on the car, it pulls the car down a little bit. And yes, the tires started to work. The brakes were cold to begin with. The pads were running, need to warm up. So
yeah, we're on full race pads now. So for an autocross, the first couple of corners, they're not in their operating.
They're not ready.
Range. So
yep. So the first run actually still was okay. Overall, it was like 46 something seconds.
Yep.
Second run, we were slightly.
It's really fast. The autocross. That would be terrible because cones
You
confuse
might be
me.
good. It's actually twitching. You're gonna be twitching.
Yeah.
Well,
I generally don't twitch in like positive directions.
Well, maybe.
But yes, you're right. Anyway, sorry I interrupted.
Yep. So the second one got much better, even though we weren't ready. How do you not get ready when you're standing there? We weren't ready. But it was better. And then the third one was better yet. Only made a mistake on one corner. Probably cost us a couple spots, but we still ended up 5th overall. So we went from 5th from last, to 5th from first.
5th from the top, yes. Just kind of how we do things.
It's kind of
I don't know.
It's an
not
uneven.
on purpose, but it just sort of works
No,
out.
definitely not on purpose.
Car's very good from what you said, though.
It is very good. Yep.
And the test days showed that. We tweaked things a little bit more.
Yep.
Car turns a little better than it was
And we made
before.
changes run to run, and it made a difference.
Yep.
So that was good too. So now we're gonna go charge. Thanks to the people who helped make this happen. So we have lots of mountain pass performance parts of the car, including a prototype wing, which you can check out.
Which is really cool. We'll probably
We'll do a little video on that or something.
video on there because It's got the top-mounted standards.
Yep,
and
swan neck thing. Yep.
Swan neck, and had
Lots of
people
adjustability.
interested. Yeah, fully adjustable. Had a lot of people interested in it already. So.
Yep.
And I think I'm not sure that they're going to have tons of them. So, but we'll see what they say.
Yep. So we have that. So Mountain Pass, and then we have a Meyer EV front splitter on as well, which is helpful. And then we have the charity partner for this year, IJM. So I'm going to throw a link to that right in here. Whoa! Chad.
Got it. Nailed it.
And there's trucks.
Lovely.
You can't see this, but there's trucks parked in the supercharger spots. Because we're in... Where are we? We're in like Missouri or
somewhere.
something. Apparently that's what they do. They park their big trucks where the Teslas go. Anyway, so yeah, I'll put a link to the IGM donation site where we're raising money for them during the trip. So we'll get charging here, and we'll talk to you again soon. Adios.